In the early hours of July 28, 2023, a 30-year-old woman was found critically wounded in the parking lot of the Bloom Room, a Dorchester Road restaurant in North Charleston, South Carolina. Identified by the Charleston County coroner as Maya Jennifer Simmons of Ladson, she had sustained gunshot wounds in what local authorities would classify as a fatal shooting. Responding officers arrived just after 2:15 a.m., where bystanders were performing CPR before emergency medical services took over and transported her to a hospital, where she was pronounced dead shortly before 3 a.m. The North Charleston Police Department immediately opened a homicide investigation. Days later, a suspect turned herself in and was charged with voluntary manslaughter and possession of a weapon during a violent crime in connection with the shooting. This is Facebook Crime. We deliver clear, factual, and up-to-date true crime stories. Subscribe and turn on notifications to stay informed on the latest cases and investigations. Maya Jennifer Simmons was a resident of Ladson, a community in the Charleston metropolitan area. Public records confirmed her age and place of residence at the time of her death. Like many adults in the area, she maintained social connections within the North Charleston nightlife scene. The Bloom Room, where the incident occurred, is known locally as a gathering location that operates late into the night, particularly on weekends. While limited public information has been released about her employment or personal background, authorities confirmed that she had no role in initiating a broader public disturbance that evening beyond the confrontation that ultimately led to the shooting. On the night of July 27th, extending into the early hours of July 28th, patrons were present at the Bloom Room. According to initial law enforcement summaries, an altercation occurred in the parking lot area outside the establishment. The exact sequence of events leading up to the gunfire was not fully detailed in early public statements, but investigators confirmed that the confrontation escalated quickly. At some point during the dispute, a firearm was discharged. Maya Simmons sustained gunshot injuries during that exchange. Officers secured the scene shortly after arrival. Crime scene tape was established around sections of the parking lot. Detectives began canvassing witnesses who had been outside the venue at the time of the shooting. Surveillance footage from nearby businesses and the restaurant itself was collected as part of the investigation. Evidence technicians documented shell casings and other physical evidence present at the scene. Investigators worked to determine the positions of those involved, the distance between parties, and whether the shooting followed a verbal dispute, physical struggle, or prior conflict. The Charleston County Coroner's Office later confirmed that Simmons died as a result of gunshot wounds sustained during the incident. The official ruling classified the death as a homicide. This determination formally shifted the case into an active homicide investigation under the jurisdiction of the North Charleston Police Department. In the days following the shooting, police continued interviews and reviewed collected evidence. Authorities did not initially release details regarding a suspect. However, on August 11, 2023, approximately 2 weeks after the shooting, law enforcement announced that a woman had turned herself in to authorities in connection with the case. The individual was identified as 39-year-old Kaisha Dayonder Simmons Birch. According to police reports, Birch surrendered to law enforcement voluntarily. Following her surrender, she was formally charged with voluntary manslaughter and possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. The voluntary manslaughter charge indicated that prosecutors believed the killing occurred during a sudden heat of passion incident or under circumstances that did not meet the legal threshold for murder under South Carolina law. The additional weapons charge reflected the alleged use of a firearm during the confrontation.
Court records from Charleston County show that Birch received a bond set at $100,000. Conditions of the bond included standard restrictions and compliance requirements pending further court proceedings. At the time charges were announced, police did not publicly release extensive details regarding motive. They also did not clarify the specific relationship, if any, between Birch and Simmons. It remained unclear whether the two women knew each other prior to the incident or whether the confrontation developed spontaneously that night. Investigators continued compiling evidence for presentation to prosecutors. This included witness statements, forensic analysis of the firearm involved, ballistic testing of recovered shell casings, and review of digital evidence, if applicable. In cases involving public venue shootings, detectives typically examine cell phone footage recorded by bystanders, text communications preceding the event, and any prior police reports involving the individuals connected to the case. The classification of voluntary manslaughter rather than murder suggests that investigators and prosecutors assessed the circumstances as lacking premeditation. Under South Carolina law, voluntary manslaughter carries significant penalties but differs from murder in terms of required proof of malice aforethought. The decision to file that specific charge likely followed consultation between detectives and the solicitor's office after reviewing initial evidence. As the legal process moved forward, the case entered the pre-trial phase. During this stage, attorneys on both sides review evidence, file motions, and prepare for potential plea negotiations or trial. Public court records indicate that the case was processed through Charleston County's judicial system. Standard procedures in such cases include preliminary hearings, possible bond reconsideration motions, and discovery exchanges between prosecution and defense. The location of the shooting, the Bloom Room parking lot, became a focal point in discussions about late-night security and safety protocols in entertainment districts. Law enforcement agencies often evaluate whether private security was present, whether surveillance systems were functioning properly, and whether crowd management procedures were followed. However, no official findings indicated that the venue itself was criminally liable in connection with the incident. Community members sought clarity regarding the events that led to the fatal confrontation. While authorities confirmed that the shooting stemmed from a dispute, they did not publicly detail the specific trigger. In many ongoing criminal cases, investigators limit public disclosures to preserve the integrity of witness testimony and jury selection processes. As of the most recent publicly available information, the case remained within the judicial system, awaiting further court action. The final legal outcome would depend on prosecutorial decisions, potential plea agreements, or a jury trial if the case proceeded to that stage. Sentencing outcomes in voluntary manslaughter cases in South Carolina vary based on criminal history, circumstances of the offense, and judicial discretion. The death of Maya Jennifer Simmons marked another entry in the region's homicide statistics for 2023. Each homicide investigation requires coordination among patrol officers, detectives, forensic specialists, prosecutors, and court officials. From the initial 911 call to the filing of formal charges, the process follows structured legal procedures designed to determine criminal responsibility based on evidence. This case began in a parking lot shortly after 2 a.m. and progressed through arrest, charging decisions, and court proceedings. The central facts remain clear. A confrontation occurred outside a North Charleston restaurant, gunfire followed, and a 30-year-old woman lost her life. A suspect later surrendered and now faces felony charges. The remaining questions surrounding motive, specific sequence of events, and final judicial resolution will ultimately be addressed through the court process as the case continues towards its conclusion. Thanks for watching. Did you find this case informative? If you want more true crime stories, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.